Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a review for you of this very interesting, very little guy right here. This is the Rovyvon Flashlights A8. First off, in the name of full disclosure, I want to thank Rovyvon for sending one of these guys along. Actually, one of my viewers reached out to me and said, "Hey, Nick, I got a connection with the Rovyvon folks. You need to check one of these guys out." He hooked the two of us up, and I told him, as always, I'm going to talk about the good, the great, the bad, the ugly. Might be a gem, might be junk. They still sent it along, but nevertheless, we have to assume this is the very best quality controlled one of these guys ever. And I've done my best not to let that affect my review, but there you go. There's the information. Next thing, this guy is, let's actually do some size comparison real quick. That's what I meant to do next. Here it is against a standard CR123 battery and a standard this is a AA battery. So what we can see here is that size-wise, this is not very big. I mean, AA-wise, it is just about the same diameter, although the clip adds a little bit more, and there are some protuberances here, and it is slightly longer than your AA there. Here it is against a, hold on, wrong thing. Here it is against a 18650 standard flashlight battery, and here it is against two of my other favorite everyday carry flashlights. This is the TAC D25A and the Through Night Neutron 2C. So we can see this is a very small little light here. Very, very small. So there you go. Next thing, this is a weird little piece. It is a very, very weird little piece. What you can see here is that the form factor on this guy is you've got a battery in here, you got a circuit board on the top, you got the emitter in the front there, not the admitter, emitter in the front there, so keep that one in mind. So let's go ahead and jump into the good, the great, the bad, the ugly of this very interesting little light right here. So on the good side to start with, this is a USB rechargeable light. Now, look, I am so tired of watch batteries, it's not even funny, and conventionally that's been how this has been done, but no, this is a micro USB slot right there. You can plug any given micro USB charger in there, and it will charge this little guy up. You plug it in, it turns red, or this little red light turns on, and then after a while it goes blue, and then life is good, and you know what's going on. That is just great. Very, very nice little detail there, and I really appreciate being able to recharge this guy using the same adapters and whatnot that I already have for my phone and other flashlights in my life. That's good. Next thing, this is quite bright. You have a big selection of brightnesses here. So in its top mode, and by the way, this is daylight here, so it's not going to seem super bright, but this is a 350 lumen turbo mode on this guy, and then once you go into, there we go, you start off in your moonlight here, which is a 0.5 lumen. By the way, you can see a little bit of pulse wave modulation there in the screen. It's a little bit of a frustration with this guy, but then you go to a low, a medium. Again, you can see that a little bit in the in there, and then you move up to high, which is 350 lumens. But look, the thing is, this is plenty bright. In practice, this is more than enough for navigating a dark room, and actually, it's reasonably capable outside. 350 lumens is a fair number of lumens, so I do appreciate that very much, and the runtimes on it are actually pretty good, too. On the moonlight mode, you have 48 hours, which is good. You get 3 hours on low, 1 hour on medium, about 40 minutes on high. This isn't a very large light. It doesn't shock me that the runtimes are a little low, but for what you're getting here, 40 minutes on that high, that's actually pretty reasonable. I think it works pretty well. Next thing, this guy has a very nice UI. A single click doesn't do a damn thing. Nothing happens. This is great because this is supposed to live on your keychain, and there is, that way if you just accidentally push up against it, nothing changes. If you double click it, if you hold it down, and goes directly into turbo or the high mode. I don't know if they call it turbo, if it's just high, but whatever it is, it goes directly into that mode. That is actually a nice thing because that means you can, at a glance, have some light in front of you and a very bright light. If you do a 2-click mode, that takes you to the moonlight mode, your lowest mode. And that's actually great because you want to make sure that you are wanting to make sure that you're not blowing out your night vision if all you need is a little tiny bit of light there. So, and then after that, you can just click and it keeps cycling you up low, medium, high, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. So that's a very nice thing. Then if you want to, you can go to their separate option, which we'll get into in a second, using 3 clicks, and then you have a reading light, which is a separate LED here, which is 4 clicks. So I like very much the approach here. So that's good. Next thing, this guy has a keychain hole up at the top here. It works just fine. There is no problem. It's maybe a little thicker than some keychain holes, but it's definitely there. This is using, next thing on the good side, this is using a color correct Nichia LED. This is great. I love, love, love high color rendering index lights because they just make the world look a little prettier. That's a good thing. Well, okay, it makes the world look exactly how it is, which is very often not pretty, but at the very least, you're not getting weird color casts and things like that. So I appreciate that very much. Then finally, it is a water-resistant light. There is, I believe it's IPX6 water resist on this guy, so you don't have to worry too much about it, completely, crapping the bed if you get a little bit of rain on it. So, to me, and by the way, this clip is removable, and I appreciate that they include one because it's great in like a coin pocket or something like that. So, to me, all of that is the good. It is water resistant. It is using a Nichia LED here. I'll pop the clip off as I'm talking. It has a nice keychain hole on here. It has a very nice user interface there with a series of clicks, each one being roughly meaningful. It has reasonable run times. It is quite bright, and it is a USB recharged. You can see, by the way, that the clip fits onto this little area here, so it doesn't move along, or doesn't move around a lot. So that's great. On the great side, though, is this little thing. Watch this. 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. This is an ultraviolet light. So I'm going to go ahead and use this, and what you can see here is even though it's not super bright, this has charged the lume on my watch exceptionally well, and it makes it show up very, very nicely. This is useful for more things than that. It is very scary in a hotel room because you can then see exactly what all is going on in your room before you got there. But nevertheless, it is very much a nice thing. I appreciate that they have that there as an option. There's also an amber LED option, if that is your preference, but for me at least, this guy is 100% better when you are using the UV light, because UV lights are good for not just charging lume on watches, but for just generally examining the world. Things show up on the UV that don't show up on the... It's a nice little option to have. The other thing is, like you saw there, if I go 1, 2, 3... the first click is UV, then it moves you to a red light, and this is great for making sure that your night vision stays this, solid. Then if you click it again, you get a flashing red light. Now, this seems like something that's not super necessary, except this could be a very good safety feature. If you're walking down the side of a road late at night, you put this on your backpack, or frankly, the back of your hat, and that gives people a good amount of vision. It's a nice little thing to include. Then if you do 4 clicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, you get this white reading light, which is very dim, but is very, very good for long duration use. Look, the great thing to me is the fact that they have made a very good flashlight here, and then they've attached 3 other specialist lights to the side of it and used an interface such that it actually works out. So I love, love, love the fact that this is a competent flashlight out the front of it, but then they've thrown in some extras there, which just make it a little bit more interesting, a little bit more different. That's great to me. And so, to me, that's what's great here, is the fact that you got the UV, the red light, and the reading light options all built into the same light. On the bad side, so to start with the price on this guy, $50. Now, okay, look, I think that's probably a fine price. It's a solid thing. However, it really ends up feeling a little bit cheap for that. With this clear plastic body, I'm not necessarily a huge, huge fan of that. Not a big deal, but it's a thing. Next thing, as you noticed on the, here we go, on the lowest settings, and you can see this probably in the cam. I don't know if this will show up in the eventual video, but you can almost see scan lines here, and the reason for that is they're using a lot of pulse width modulation here. And what that basically means is that they're trying to keep the light very low profile by knocking off parts of the waveform. It's not great. And so if you're moving this guy around, you get a weird quantization effect here. Sorry for the, seizures and whatnot. But anyways, even in practice, it's a little bit weird, and it's very much noticeable on these lower frequency, or lower amplitudes of light. Well, maybe not amplitude, brightnesses. There you go. Sorry, digging waveforms now. I'm all in acoustics world. Anyways, back at the ranch. So I'm not a big fan of the pulse width modulation there. That's not the great thing. Next thing, the clip on this guy is fine, but it really doesn't have much in the way of ramp. You can see here, it really, really dips down there. It's hard to get this guy into a pocket, for instance. It works well in a key pocket, but you really have to do a lot of lifting, a lot of pushing around. That's not great. Not a fan of that. And then it does not have a a software lockout mode. It has the advantage that if you press the button only once, nothing happens. And you really need to consciously double press it in order to turn the thing on to start with. But honestly, I'd prefer to see some kind of a software lockout approach, or a hardware approach for that matter. That would be nice. And then finally, on the bad side, the clear plastic doesn't really do it for me. I'm going to be honest, this is maybe just me being a slob here, but I would prefer that this, like for instance, if this were glow-in-the-dark plastic, it'd be really cool. I think that would work well. It'd be interesting, but the clear stuff just kind of feels a little bit cheapy, right? I mean, relative to a lot of what else we see in the world, this ain't looking so hot. So, for $50, that's not great, and it just feels a little bit on the cheap side, a little bit less durable, although so far in carry it's been fine. So, to me, that's the bad here, is that it is $50, which feels a little cheap given the looks, but I'd say electronically it makes sense. It justifies that. The clip doesn't have a whole lot of ramp. It's got some pulse width modulation stuff going on there. And I'm not a big fan of the clear plastic on here. Nothing ugly, so let's go into the final conclusion. Final conclusion, look, these small keychain flashlights are a bit of a weird niche. I mean, at some level, very often you want something more serious for your everyday life. You'll want something like this. If you really need a flashlight, you're going to want a flashlight that packs a little bit more punch and a little bit more durability than this guy will. Even like a single AA light will, generally outshine and outlast this guy in the pocket. And then on the other side, very often you might be content with the light that's built into your very cell phone. For most people now, there's a flash on your cell phone that can turn into a flashlight, and that'll do in a lot of, low situations. So this provides something in the middle. It's something that packs a little more punch, a few extra features relative to your phone, but it doesn't add all that much bulk to your life. And I gotta say, in that genre, this is a pretty compelling one of these guys. And it is very, very nice. I mean, it's an impressive little piece. It's super bright, decent color, decent run times, a nice size, nice UI. It's got these extra bonus lights on the side there. I mean, honestly, mostly this is a great little piece. There's a lot to love about this little guy. It is absolutely a joy. Sure, you have to want what it's selling. You have to want a small keychain style light. That's not what everyone after. The clip isn't amazing in terms of getting into the pocket. It looks a little bit cheap for the price, although in practice, I think the value is there, given all the extras they're throwing in here. But really, they've created something quite good here. So if you want a keychain light that packs some serious luminous punch and has some interesting secondary features, I think this could absolutely be a gem for you. I'm very impressed with this little guy. It is a very neat little thing. In practice, I think most of the time I end up carrying something like this in my backpack anyways, so it doesn't make as much sense to me personally, but it is well done, and I'm pretty impressed, and I think this little guy could absolutely go Rovyvon around the countryside with you. Rovin? No? Okay. Anyways, hope this is interesting to you. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.